Hey everybody, welcome to the 4x speed drawing, painting, color penciling, whatever it is I'm working on. Right, Brandon? Whatever it is I'm working on.
That is correct. It's a multi-purpose.
Yeah, we're speeding this up 4 times. I'm going to try to always keep these to around an hour if possible. So you got a good length here if you're, Brandon, if you're, if you like to put these on while you draw in the background, that'll be pretty good, about an hour.
Yeah.
So I've normally done these in real time with streaming, but they don't get a ton of views, and the hour ones seem to average more, so I'm just speeding this up a little bit. This is also a generic opener, so if you have listened to this before, you can just skip it. There won't be any new information. I just want to put everything you want to know, whatever tools I use, whatever things I'm doing. I just want to explain it here, so I don't have to create commentaries for 1,000 more videos. Right, Brandon?
Right, because there will be 1,000 more videos.
You know, there will only be 1,000 more videos if I don't have to do this every freaking time. So, just trying to make things more efficient, folks. So let's just start off with the typical tools that I use for digital art. So let's start with digital art. Photoshop, I use Photoshop CS5. Now, you're probably wondering, can you do anything that I do in another program? That answer is, Brandon?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, you don't have to use Photoshop. I use CS5 because I own it. I actually bought a copy for like, I don't know, $380 I think I paid for back in the day. It's pretty good steal considering Adobe charges a monthly fee now, right, Brandon?
That they do.
Right.
That they do.
So I use Photoshop CS5. I just been using Photoshop since 1994. Since version 2.5.
Right.
I'm extremely comfortable with Photoshop. So if you prefer to use Clip Studio Paint, hey, go right ahead. Use whatever you want. Use Procreate. I don't care. It's your show, guys. It's not on my show. We use whatever the hell I want, right, Brandon?
That is true. The way or the highway.
I'm trying so hard to not sound like fuddy-duddy jerkwad. Frowny face. See that frowny face guy that in the art in the beginning of the video? That's so if you're new and you're like, man, this guy's a jerk. Well, it's just my advice is don't listen to anything else.
There you go. There you go. Stick to this.
This is the best I get. So I use Photoshop, CS5. I mostly draw with a round hard brush. And then I usually draw it at about 72% opacity. And I take the same brush and just flatten it in Photoshop, create what I call an oil brush. And I set that to 100% opacity. And what I do in Photoshop CS5 is I just put all my little tools in the tool presets. What that does is it just memorizes the settings per tool. So if you're watching me draw and you see me click over on this thing on the right hand side, that's just the tool presets. But that's it. I don't really use anything else. The other thing I do is when I draw and I erase, I take the same brush, which is the round brush, and I just turn the opacity down about 80%. Sometimes 64%, sometimes 90%, but I average about 80%. So when I'm drawing and I erase right there, it leaves these little bits underneath,
little extras
in the art, and that's something new. If you go back a few years ago on my digital art, you won't see that. But this is something I've been doing the last few years, last couple years, and it really just sort of has sped along my process. Turns out it adds something I like, so that's what's going on there. What else, Brandon? What else do I do in Photoshop? I use gradient maps. I have some tutorial videos on those gradient maps.
That is right. You use gradient maps. You like to draw silhouettes when you're doing your basic shapes and body poses.
Yeah, I do a lot of that stuff.
You have videos on that about creating.
Yeah, I got tons of those videos on silhouettes. I have a whole thing on art tips videos, playlists. So you can go to the playlist. You can just see a bunch of old art tips. If you have any questions, just let me know. We can always make an art tip video. I don't really charge for that. We just share the information. So,
right.
But I use a combination these days of cell shade or airbrushing, or I'll do things in grayscale, and and add gradient maps if I need to do more complex rendering, so I don't have to spend a lot of time mixing color. If you're looking for like really complex digital paintings, like how they do it at Blizzard with those, those Hearthstone cards, Brandon.
Right.
Yeah. Don't come here. I don't really do that stuff. But if at work they said we need that, then I would use gradient maps. I would do the whole thing in black and white, and then I would use gradient maps to color it. And I've done some digital paintings that way before in the past, so it's pretty easy to find. Brandon has spent the past couple years organizing those art tips playlists, right?
I have. I put them in great order, and I think if you just go through and you find something you like, it'll lead you down a nice path of videos in a row of processes. Maybe it'll be digital drawing, then digital flats, and then digital coloring, and so forth. So it's a nice flow to everything. So if you find something you like, there will be a flow after it of continuous videos of the steps.
Same with all the real-time art videos. So I have a whole real-time art video playlist. I know a lot of people on YouTube don't generally dig through the playlists, but I really suggest you do, because all those videos are in order of the project. So if you start on a color pencil, it's going to start with the roughy and then go into the drawing and then the color pencil, all in order in the real-time art playlist. I think there's like 1,100 videos in there now, Brandon, somewhere around there.
Give or take. I spent a good chunk of my life organizing those, so there's a lot, and they're in great process of how you want to start your art and finish your art.
And it's hit or miss. We streamed a lot of those, so if you'll be able to hear us throughout the years. Me just basically yelling at Brandon for the last 4 or 5 years. So that's always fun. Sometimes I put that on, Brandon, when I'm really mad at you, and I just like to listen to myself harass you for a few hours.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah. So what else? What else we got? Brandon, is there any questions about Photoshop that I do? That anything you think I've been missing that you want me to bring up?
No, I think one thing you do great though is you organize everything, and it makes it very efficient. You know your buttons, you know your keys, you know all the stuff you need, and you have it organized, and you have a workspace set up so that if anything ever gets disrupted, you just reload your workspace, and all your brushes, all your presets are all in order, which I recommend for any artist. If you have a certain set of the way you like to do things, just keep it organized. It'll save you time and searching for things.
Yeah, also, if you're wondering what I used to draw on, I'm using a Cintiq 22-inch no-touch HD monitor. But as my backup, I have a Cintiq 20-inch USW, CSX, something like that. It's an older model, but it checks out.
Yeah.
Star Wars reference. And I keep that as a backup in case this breaks or I got to send it back to the shop. Again, I also, let me just say, I also use a classic pen. Wacom makes a classic pen, which is more thinner, so it's more like a traditional pencil. It's not that big bulky marker. And you've used the two, right, Brandon?
That's correct. You let me use it for a while, and then you took it back, and now I have back to the bulky Sharpie.
Yeah, and that's why you don't see Brandon drawing much, because it sucks to use that big bulky pen. Yeah, it's a bit thicker than the Apple Pencil. I do have an iPad Pro. I prefer the classic Intuos to the Apple Pencil. Just the Apple Pencil's a little too thin, and I know Wacom's going to be making an even thinner one this year, which I hope to never use. So what I went and did is when they announced that new one, I bought 3 more of these. I have these backups, just so I've only gone through 3 ever in the last 20 years of my one Wacom pen. So I'm gonna keep these, and I might end up when these Cintiqs 22 inches end up in the rubbish bin. I will probably go and buy a couple of those too with my extra cash and just store them for the future. I know that sounds crazy, folks, but I don't have children, so this is how I spend my money.
There you go.
What else? Oh, so in Photoshop, if you want to get your lines a little smoother, which I do recommend, not when you're sketching, but when you're doing sort of cleaned up lines, you can use a plugin called Lazy Nezumi Pro. Lazy Nezumi Pro is a plugin I use. I'll set it to just pressure. There's a setting you can do in Lazy Nezumi called Smoothing Pressure Gain. And what that does is it automatically doubles the pressure that you're using without you having to double the pressure. So you know how, Brandon, when you draw in real life, in the real world, you press too damn hard?
Oh, I do. I almost put my fist through the paper.
Yeah, so when you set the pressure gain on with Lazy Nezumi, it will automatically double the pressure. So it's you don't have to press so hard. You can you train yourself to draw lightly. And I just set the number to 8 in the amount. So there's very little lag. It's not over correcting the lines. I don't like super smoothing because I think it takes away from your style. Right, but sometimes clients want something that looks really clean, then I turn that back up to 25. And there's
Oh
some
wow.
drag. Yeah, there's some drag, but they get these super clean. They're like, oh, it looks like vector. I'm like, it really isn't. But that plugin solves things. I don't use it at all when I'm doing my initial sketches and stuff. So, um, but I do use that. So I turn it on and off, give or take what I'm doing. If I'm coloring, I leave it off completely. There's no point. So only when I'm doing some cleanup stuff. This way I can zoom out. So if you're using that, turn on to 8, maximum 15 for regular drawing. You can work zoomed out a little bit more, and it just won't what do you call it, wobble. And yes, I have used Photoshop CS6 and CC and all that stuff. Was it CC, the one where they added
Yes.
stabilization? Yeah, that sucks. I don't like it. So and I know Clip Studio Paint, it comes with it. I do own Clip Studio Paint, but the problem, folks, is I've been using Photoshop for so long. All my shortcut keys are built into my left hand. Like
Yeah.
all the things that I do. Brandon's seen me working. Like it's like my left hand's like typing while I draw. You know.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. It's like when you see like an animated robot or an anime, and the hands are just clicking like 100 buttons at once, and their face is like an inch away from the screen.
Yeah.
It's a little like that. It's disturbing.
Yeah, I can't let it go. I can't let it go. What else? What else should I say? Oh, Brandon, let's talk about traditional pencils and stuff that I use. Let's go move on to traditional.
Yes.
So I typically draw with red mechanical lead, mechanical pencil. I use Pentel. I also use blue when I'm doing my sketches. And these days I also use a yellow color pencil just when I'm doing basic rough pencil sketches to give my sketches a little bit of a glow. I ink with Copic markers, multi-liners, generally when I'm doing my standard regular sketchy inks. When I use inks for color pencil drawing or watercolor, I use burnt sienna, this German Kloger something or other, Klingner. It's all below. If you look below, I got a very long list of all my materials.
Correct.
So you can
And
dig
that's
down
over
there.
years of trial and error. Right?
Trial and error, and it constantly changes. So, you know, we'll make another one of these videos, Brandon, someday whenever I completely change my whole process. But as you get older, you just tend to like different things. You refine your processes if you're that kind of artist, as I am. But that's mostly all I use. I use a Zebra Zebra ballpoint pen sometimes. That's it. I don't use regular wood pencils or anything. I don't like the sound of. I know it sounds weird, but I can't stand the sound of a pencil on paper. I know, right? I know it sounds so weird. I can't take it. Yeah, it drives me crazy. I get these weird. I can't take it. So I tend to these days sketch with color mechanical lead, and then I ink the draw with inks basically. What else? Let's talk about color pencils. I use Polychromos, Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. And now, Brandon, there's a good reason why I use them primarily. I won't say all the time. I do use a few Prismacolors, but that's because the Polychromos there's only like 100 of those things. So every now and then there's a few colors like some sea foams and stuff like that I like to use that they don't make. But 99% of the time I'm using Polychromos. And the reason for that is because they don't break ever. Brandon, I have never, to this day, I have never broken one. Never chipped the tip.
Sturdy.
Yeah, no, nothing. No, they're super sturdy. So I really, and they're super creamy and they glide, and you don't get that buildup that you get with the Prismacolors.
You got a nice fluid stroke to them. And even with my gorilla hands and how hard I push, I've never broken a tip on any of the Polychromos that Rob, nice enough, was to buy me a nice set, and I love it. I got a little case. I've used the same 100 for the last, I don't know how many commissions. They last a long time. You can reuse them a lot. Like you said, it builds up, and you're not wasting a whole pencil on one piece of art. Like it stretches out. They last.
Anything else about color pencils? Did we make a video on? We made a Copic marker video. Did we make a color pencil? I don't think we ever made a color pencil video. You
use so many color pencils, though. We do talk about it throughout the different ones on sketch covers and things. Right. And Polychromos just seemed to be the best fit for the range of things you do, from sketch covers at conventions when you did them, and commissions now. It just has a better look. It transfers over to pictures and video, I think, a lot better, and it shows the true colors, you know,
Yeah, and
vibrancy of them.
so that's basically it. Mostly color pencils, and then for watercolors, these days I use PH Martin's color dyes, and I'll also use what else do I use? Sometimes I'll use just basic Holbein watercolors from time to time. So that sort of changes here or there. I haven't done watercolors in a while, but if you look on the last watercolor paintings I've done over the past 2 or 3 years, those are all PH Martin inks and dyes. And then lastly, if you look at my older videos, I have used Copic markers plenty of times in the past. I even made a video called Copic markers, 64 colors that I use. There's a link below, right in the art materials I typically use section. You can go right to that video. So, you know, I don't really do Copic marker rendering anymore. I just don't. I don't enjoy it. So, but those are there. So I did do those for a few years, and that's it. Is there anything else we're missing?
That doesn't mean that you can't use Copics, and it doesn't mean people watching this can't use Copics. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just as you grow as an artist, you start to like to use different products more. But I think that in this YouTube page, Twitch, and everything that we have, you show a wide range of different products for people to try and use, and you know, you give great input so that people aren't wasting their money, because we've spent, and you've spent, a lot of money on things that don't work, you know, but these are what work for you. Doesn't mean it'll work for everybody, but it's what works for us, you know.
Do they work for you?
They do. I just don't work hard.
You say us, and I'm like, I don't ever remember you doing art. Like, you did that once.
Yeah, if the one time I do art once a year, they work.
All right, I'll take your word. I believe you, Brandon. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else we're missing here? Anything else?
No, I mean, I think we've covered all the materials that we use and why over the years you've used them. I think in this video and every video moving forward, you will show how you use each thing and, you know, the different processes. Whether you love it or hate it, it's all in here.
It's a very generic, placating statement, Brandon. I'm proud of you. You know, you're doing well in life. Try not to offend anyone. Don't worry. They probably didn't listen this far anyhow. The ones that'll complain, that is. You know, the ones that care. You folks, you listen all the way through, and those are the ones that we reward with what are we going to reward them with? Brandon, make up a song.
Virtual high fives.
Do a jumping jack. Do a jumping jack. Here we go. This is to reward the people. There you go.
Oh shit! That's it. That's all you get the one. Got out of my chair for that.
You can hear it, folks. He's not gonna make it.
No. Please don't listen any further and make me have to do 2 jumping jacks, people.
I am so glad, Brandon, that you organized that whole playlist before you dropped that on me. So because that's, you saved me. Well, I would never do it. So
right. They would have never.
Yeah, you didn't save anything. I just was never going to do it. But we do that for you, folks. We do it for you. So if you have any other questions or comments, just leave them below. If you're wondering, again, will I ever make direct commentaries for the videos? I absolutely will, but they won't be for hour-long videos. They'll be for 10-minute ones. We'll do commentaries. Because I don't know how to talk about my own art for an hour. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't. Once I get done drawing the roughie, for me, it's done. You know that, Brandon? Yeah, for me, anytime I get the roughie done, I'm like, oh, that's done. The problem is no one else will pay me to do roughies. I've gotten close with the scribblies, like how I tend to draw digital now.
Correct.
I'm almost there. So that's it, folks. That's all I got to say. I'm super tired. I got other stuff to do. Again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. We'll get to them soon. Brandon, thanks for hanging out and putting up with. Well, no, thanks, Rob, for putting up with Brandon. You're welcome, Rob.
And thank you for having me do.
Thank me for putting up with you. Yeah, I like that. You're welcome, Brandon. I'm glad I could help. So, all right, folks, we'll talk to you soon. I'm just gonna crank up the volume here on the music for the remainder of this video, and you enjoy. Actually, I really do hope that you guys leave this stuff on when you're drawing. You know what I mean? So we can all sort of feel like we're drawing together, right, Brandon? Yeah. That's what Brandon does, right? You just turn on my videos.
I pretend like I'm drawing them. I just take my hand and go over it like I'm doing it.
All right. Well, we'll see you all soon, folks. Talk later. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.